Ladies and gentlemen, here in season 2, it seemed like it just wasn't quite a season. I was like, is it because I haven't done the solo talk with chat stream? No. Is it because I haven't had Pixel on? No. Why is something's missing? Someone is missing. Who could that someone be? It's Baxcast. Of course it's Baxcast. Who's still muted? Doing a great job.
Am I muted?
There we go.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to
What
the
is
show.
this? New podcast. Who dis? What's
Yeah.
What's So and then I sit down with my applesauce and my water and my tea and everything's so good and I see that you're tilting and I'm like, I look at the clock.
Yeah.
And then I check the time. I go back into our message. I'm like, I want to make sure I get the start time of this right. I did get the start. The start time was correct. And I'm like,
This
he's just tilting.
motherfucker.
He's
tilting.
he's actually tilting 10 minutes till podcast time. He's got his shirt unbuttoned. He's not got a tie on yet. He's just like I'm just doing it.
I don't know what you're talking about. These are all lies.
I'm just out here.
These are all lies.
I'm just out here.
There's no video evidence.
Hello, everybody. No video. Yeah, there's none. No recorded.
None.
Okay. Good to be here.
Welcome,
Great.
everyone. Thank you all for being here. It's good to have everyone here. We're gonna talk about. Yeah, I had my list prepared. I'm prepared to just throw the list out the window, honestly, because knowing how this is gonna go. But yeah, I got a couple, light topics on there. I'll just. How about this? I know, breach from format, but I'm just gonna rattle down my very lighthearted, non-serious PCZ topic list, and then we'll just attack whatever the hell we want to attack, regardless of the list.
Deal. That sounds great. No, I'm whatever.
So I had some throwaway questions, like the transition from Boise to Seattle. Some other throwaway questions, like the moral significance of a philosophically undetectable God. Some more throwaway ones. The suicide rate in Seattle. Just real throwaway questions. I don't think we need to stick to any of them, but that's what I had. Stuff like that. So
Yeah, no, it sounds like you got some lightly prepared material. A dusting of conversation, if you will. I'm trying to get the pop filter to go. So first,
I have the same problem.
The pop filter, so this pop filter is the most awful thing. But the problem is, if I have it up like this, then it's like, oh!
Right.
So
which is why mine is
this
below
is not
camera.
this isn't the goal. So
That's why mine is
what
below
I'm trying
camera.
to do.
I always thought
it-
that was like holding your pop filter up, but it's just the untrimmed twist tie.
It's an untrimmed, and I
There are
like
things
the
that
I like
can,
the
like,
flourish.
Just
Nope. I like the flourish. It's
fair
there.
enough. Fair
Okay,
enough.
we're just gonna go with this. This is it. This
Fair
is the life. Okay, so
What was on your
Boise to
list?
Seattle.
What
That was a good
on-
transition. Let me tell you what's on my list.
Let me pull out the world's smallest piece of
Here we-
paper.
No,
Hold on.
Here's what I have on my list. Here's what I have on my
Hold on.
list.
I got a list here somewhere. Hold on. Somewhere in here I got a list. Oh, there it is. All right, there's my list. All right, let's see what we got here.
Oh,
The world's smallest piece of paper. Continue.
I have the Poop Ships map. 302 average, 219 record. Conclusion: not good for record hunters.
Okay, we can talk about that.
The rest appears to be gibberish. I don't think it's actually legible. So
during stream scribble, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'll know what that says after stream, and then you go back, you're like, oh what?
No, what I have prepared, is neither here nor there. It doesn't seem important. It's,
exactly.
It's about the friends we make along. It's true, exactly. Yes, it is about. Yeah. Okay. Well, where do we want? Well, we're already starting off really strong. We're doing a great job. What's our go? What do we want?
Your poster did say Rocks God Bagels, I think. Is that what the poster said?
Yes, and that was actually supposed to be one word, but or one topic. So Rocks God Bagels. So it's like the rock. I can't even pretend that's true.
Sorry, are we doing the
I wanna
podcast or is this a
back.
Record Hunters episode?
Yeah, right. That's the problem. That's the problem. Is we actually are in. I am in.
We're in Record
Hunters mode.
We need to do a talk
and
show.
I am
It's a
not in
different thing.
podcast mode. So we need to. I might have to. Yeah,
Can we
where
start
did you
over?
release the promo for this podcast yet?
This is the promo for the talk show. We're gonna do the real thing in about 5 minutes here.
Oh my god. Okay.
Let's talk about that. I want to talk about. All right, let's get this show on the road here.
Let's do it. Let's get the show going.
You know, people would be. Are you aware of Unus Annus, the Markiplier 1 year of videos, one a day, and then delete everything after a year on YouTube? You aware of this thing?
No, but very intrigued.
Yeah. So, Markiplier, in his infinite YouTube genius, was like, "Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna team up with a dude. We're gonna make a video every day for a year, and then at the end of the year, we're deleting the whole channel, everything on it. Just get rid of it all, just gone. Right? Which gives them this liberty, this freedom, right? Because they're not spending a week editing and high crafting, right? They're just like, they have to generate 365 days in less, or 365 ideas in less than a year, right? Because the ideas need to exist before they do the episode, right? So they basically have less than a year to generate 365 good YouTube ideas. So they're like, okay, sounds great, let's do it. Like, they don't have time to flush it out. They don't have time to really think it through. And halfway through, sometimes they're just like, this is a bad idea. We're just going to have to make it work. Let's go, right? And I find a lot of inspiration and a lot of parallels in Record Hunters to that concept of just like, we didn't put a lot of thought into this, but we're here. We have 3 hours to fill. We're just going to have to make it work. What's your takeaway on all of this? As from a creative endeavor, what's your take?
I think this starts to get into a one of my personal biggest pitfalls when it comes to content creation or creativity in general is the idea of like not just perfection is the enemy, but if I'm making something public, that is a representation of myself, and
right.
if it is not
got your name
an
on it.
accurate self-portrait, then I am not doing myself the service of correctly portraying myself.
Correct.
So I think you actually have to go and I know, and I can recognize by saying that, I can actually recognize that the exact opposite is probably the best way to live your life, and that is the way that says we need to not only engage in our mistakes, we need to accept them and maybe even seek them out. So this Unus Annus, I can't believe I haven't heard of this, first of all. Yeah. Secondly, I think we should talk about the fact that Markiplier is doing it because maybe it doesn't have the same kind of intrigue or interest if somebody who isn't one of the biggest names in online content creation was doing it, But then that gets back into the point, doesn't it?
Right.
The point isn't, that's not the point. The point isn't that they're doing this and that we know about it. The point is that anybody could do this and it would probably be a healthy endeavor.
Right. It's a great idea, but the success is probably more dependent on Markiplier than the idea itself.
Correct.
But yeah,
I think okay, so how can we apply that to is that something you can apply to streaming with a similar success rate? Let's say you want to grow your stream, or let's say you want to could you use this as as a platform for content creation to grow a community by neglecting the very essence of community growth and saying every single day I'm going to put together a stream that has as little fucks given as possible just for the sake of putting content out there. Is that a good practice? Mentally, yes, it probably is.
Yeah.
Like monetarily, like content creation wise, probably not. But we can still acknowledge it's a good thing for us as a person to acknowledge that we're gonna like fall short every single time we try to do something.
For me, so like with how I have like a day of the week, and every week each day has its own series that repeats every week. Those are all very carefully crafted. Those are all very rigorously structured, planned out, modified, planned for, prepared for events. Um, the in between streams, like during the day streams when I'm just tilting or just building something or stuff like that, are more of the like, I don't really care, but you know, I'm going to be doing this anyway. I might as well stream it kind of a thing. So while I do try to practice a healthy blend of both, I honestly think personally, I'm all about the perfection. You know, why is Beethoven still talked about today? It wasn't because of that improv session he did at the end of one concert in Bjorn, right? It's because of that Fifth Symphony, that fucking perfect masterpiece that you could not improve with 1,000 years time, right? So that's what speaks to me personally. However, that's for a very, like, if you think about it objectively, it's his symphony, not him, right? Yes, he created it, but it's his symphony. And that's what's withstanding the time. Beethoven's not withstanding the test of time. It's his creation that's spanning the test of time. And to that effect, in this sphere of like having to do social building, social media, it's probably more advantageous to do the unplanned stuff because that will let people see you working your craft, right? So it wouldn't be very exciting to watch Beethoven write the Fifth Symphony. It'd be a very painful experience. But it's great when it's done. Whereas social media, it's actually more interesting to watch it be created than what the content is usually. So seeing people try to figure out something in real time or salvage a bad idea just for the sake of making a video, like gives you more of an insight into their mind than their greatest work, whatever would. Because then it's about them, not about their creation. So I think it depends what you're going for. Do you want you, the person, to be remembered? Or do you want your creation to be remembered?
I mean, but what you were just, I mean, we're just commenting that like that symphony is like, if we're using that symphony as his magnum opus of sorts, like let's just like that is the thing that's staying the test of time. But Beethoven's name is the thing that is lasting as a result of it.
Right.
So aren't they both kind of?
Well, what do you know about Beethoven?
Like, is there really an either or?
What do you know about Beethoven?
Far too large of a dog, needed to be let outside far more often. Deaf.
Yeah. So I think that
like, I mean, that's, you know,
I think that speaks to my point, right? Is
right.
You,
of course,
you can do the scholarly, you know, I understand his work so well that I've seen into the mind of Beethoven. You can do that thing, but you don't
right.
know. You don't know. You're just another opinion, right?
Sure.
So let's look at it the other way. Like Robin Williams. I think a lot of us know at least some of the details about Robin Williams' life, especially his career. And you'd be hard pressed to say like his best movie or his best comedy show, but Robin Williams, the man, I don't think anyone can argue with. right? So that's your two, right? Do you want to be a Robin Williams or do you want to be a Beethoven?
Hmm. So if we take, this is the. Could we do our own version? By the way, how does the mic sound around the
Sounds great. Sounds real good. Really coming through. Really, really coming through.
Why do I feel like you're not?
It's perfect. You're talking into the back of the mic, which has a not microphone on it.
Correct.
And
I can change that.
And all I'm really hearing is the echo off of your green screen, which
Oh, good.
Very clear.
Okay, well.
Very clear.
So.
It's a good. Actually, I would have loved to have that angle for a while, but I could not hear you.
This is tough just because it does, like, there are a lot of avenues to walk down with this topic, especially in an oversaturated market. Everybody's it comes down to like the Simon Sinek, why, like the question of why. That has to be at the core of what you're trying to do. Why are you doing it? Not what are you doing, not how much money you're making from it, any of these things, but why are you doing it? Right. And I think a lot of people just because of the prevalence of social media for the most part, do lose themselves in that question.
Yes.
They don't ask themselves that question. As a result, you come up with a lot of anxiety and depression issues. You come up with a lot of problems with comparison games with other streamers,
self-perpetuating machine with no head.
Yeah, just it's endless, and it is endless. It is this thing that, and then what happens is enough time goes by where you aren't taking into proper consideration your own desires in your own life and the reasons that you do the things that you do, that when it finally hits you, it's too late, and you get this overwhelming like despair and dread that just like comes down into like your core, into like your soul, and just eats you alive. And so it's when we talk about these kind of like, we're talking about something like this. What does unus annus mean? What is that?
1 year.
1 year. Excellent. Good. Latin. I figured it was Latin. But 1 year. Excellent. Good. When we get into an idea of this, like unus annus, what might happen to a lot of people is they might say like, "Oh my God, that would be a year wasted." Or they might say such a thing.
Someone might have that opinion. Okay, I agree.
Right.
I agree.
And I think that would miss the point. What I'm trying to almost figure out, like, what if there was an equivalent in streaming, and it was anytime I sit down, like, for a month, anytime I sit down on my computer to do anything, I stream it, no matter what.
Okay.
For a month, and then delete all the VODs after.
Right.
Would that be a comparable experiment? Would that be too revealing? Because at least for the videos, you aren't showing your life when if like this is the thing about this I think might be a little bit like, it's good. I'm not saying this is a bad idea, but is it even going far enough, or is it actually showing us what we want? Because when we look at this, like, these are the videos that they're going to create. They're only going to show us, like, yeah, they have to make the videos, but are they telling us all the stuff they didn't put on there? Like, these are still the takes they're using.
Right. It's still a presented product. Correct. At the end.
Yes.
In that vein, I think if you wanted to do it in a stream environment, I think, as mentioned in chat, you're building stream from scratch on stream is kind of in that vein. Like, if every day you deleted everything in your OBS and you just picked a random game from Steam, you picked your overlay for that game, and then you just did the game, and then you just deleted everything at the end of stream and started over again every stream for like a month. So it would be 30 streams, different game every stream, different overlay every stream. Blah.
Blah.
It's kind of that forced creativity, right? Because that's what Unosanist is touching on. Is like come up with an idea and make it work fast.
Right. Exactly.
So.
That's what I mean. That's what Tim Urban, the Wait But Why blog writer, did his TED Talk on the idea of procrastination and how procrastination actually is like this. It's not an excuse for procrastinators. Okay, I know everybody wants to use it that way, including myself. But he's saying that procrastination actually does give itself over to the creative process, because when you have a deadline, the panic, oh my god, we have to get shit done monkey in your head just like goes crazy and says, let's go.
Yeah.
And it's all, and you have a hyper focus because you have to get something done.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like amazing work has been done in very short amount of time as a result of that. It's not, so I think there is something to that where you force yourself to do it. You just have to be willing to say, these are going to be bad ideas. Like some of these are going to be awful, but forcing the creativity is the goal. It's not the product that is the goal. The goal is the process. I think a lot of people forget that, including myself sometimes.
I struggle with that a little bit because it has the smackings of slavery, right? Like Great Wall of China, pyramids, all these things that were amazing marvels and developments, the products of slavery. And it kind of follows that same idea of forcing someone to do something very quickly and very well. Now, the difference obviously is consent, right? Because when you are procrastinating, you are consenting to putting yourself in that situation, whereas during slavery, it is not consensual experience. But it does have that smacking of like you are putting your creativity in slavery. If I may.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Yeah.
That was a good sit moment.
Is there a place, can we nail, so what I'm struggling with right now in the conversation is actually the inability to like nail down a specific point. I feel like there's like 5 different things that are just like hovering around. I feel like we should just pluck one up and just go, like on a microscope.
Do it.
Listen, that was me clearly trying to push the responsibility of the next direction.
It is the first half. I'm supposed to lead in the first half, so I got to jump on this. I got to jump on this grenade. Okay. Creativity, the person or the works. I think the works are more important than the person because all people are flawed. And as we continue to witness over and over again with social justice warriors and cancel culture, you're never going to find a perfect person. So worrying about the person, I think, is foolish. So I do think the deeds are more important. The reason I think the deeds are more important is because as much as a single person may do, their production, their creativity, their ideas, their products, whatever, are what improves society overall, right? So the people who developed the automobile may not have been great people, but the automobile has empowered a lot of people to have better lives. And similar things with, harnessing electricity and medicine and all these other things, right? So the products are what is helping society out in the long run rather than the people. So that's why I put an emphasis on the product.
Did we talk about this last time? Okay, here's what I'm going to do, because this makes me think of an example, and I feel like I brought it up last time. So stop me as soon as it sounds familiar.
Okay.
Listening to musicians and their music when they themselves are god-awful people.
Oh,
like
we're talking
after
the separation. I think we talked about this, but not on the talk show. The separation of a person and their creation.
Let's go for I'm just gonna
Bill Cosby.
Sure. I'm gonna go more specific. I'm gonna go for Ian Watkins, the lead singer of Lost Prophets.
There we go.
He is essentially a baby rapist, and that's it. Just there's nothing else to say about it. It's a true thing. It happened. His music, the Lost Prophets, was a band I listened to in high school, like religiously. It was great. I love their music. Then this comes out, And now there's like that little hiccup in my head where it's like, am I supporting that him in these things as a person by listening to his music after the fact?
Right.
Listening to their music, you know?
Right.
So that's it. That's the example that comes to my head every single time. I came to the conclusion, no, like the product is separate from the person.
Correct.
But there is a threshold. Like if you think about it, if you keep thinking of examples, there is a threshold where at some point, like R. Kelly, for example. Yeah. R. Kelly, for me, this gets into bias as well. I didn't listen to R. Kelly's music in the first place.
Right.
So it's not like suddenly I'm going to start being like, to prove a point, I'm going to start being an R. Kelly music fan.
Right.
But there is something weird about R. Kelly that I'm not going to listen to anymore.
And that's, I mean, there's a big psychology there. Things you possess, you value more than the things you do not possess. So,
yes,
like music you've already heard is something you possess psychologically. It's music that's like an experience you have in your brain, and music you haven't heard is just outside of your brain. So you would hold on to the music you've heard more than the music you haven't heard on to.
True.
It reminds me of the current situation of Rowling, or Rowling, however you want to pronounce it, with Harry Potter, right? People want to boycott all things Harry Potter because Rowling is in disagreement with the trans community. And while that's good to take issue and call her out on that, your boycott hurts the struggling props builder in the studio more than it does Rowling. It hurts the boom operator on the set more than Rowling, right? It's to try to assume that a single person produced something in any situation is folly. And so to boycott that thing is to punish all people involved in that creation, right? So like, yes, Beethoven, Fifth Symphony, but you wouldn't know what the symphony sounded like just looking at the sheet music. You would need someone to teach you what that sheet music means. You would need a symphony of people to play it for you, and an audio tech who can record it, and a studio that can mass produce those recordings and distribute them with a distribution network, right? So no one person has ever produced anything. The common argument being like, you could not build a pencil by yourself. You would have to go to South America to get the rubber. You'd have to find a copper mine. You'd have to go harness graphite from a North American mine. You'd have to get the right wood. You'd have to develop the machinery to get the wood to be inlaid around the graphite and like refine the rubber. Like it would take you decades just to make a pencil. Or you could just go down to the store and buy one because other people have coordinated themselves to make it more accessible to you, right? So that's why I emphasize a separation of the person and the product, is because even though that person may be the chief operator and architect of that idea, the ability for the idea to reach you is dependent on so many other people that you can't just say, this is that person's thing and I'm not going to be a part of it.
You would agree that there is a line that separation can't apply to, I would assume.
Well, if the worry is supporting, quote unquote, then it would be up to the appreciators of that content to put pressure on the people involved to not give financial support to that person. So I'd be like, okay, Rowling, we'll publish your next book, but we're not going to pay you for it. You're going to have to do this one gratis.
Oh, okay. More specifically, like there would be like a scale, and the one side you'd have the product that may be an innate good, if we're gonna make it like, if we're gonna look at like ethics, and then on the other side you'd have something the person is doing that is awful,
right,
but is necessary for this good. So there would be just if we're there would be a threshold, I would assume, where it's like, wait, this isn't worth it. I actually am not going to engage in this good because this awful is too awful.
Correct. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I would also argue most celebrities have not crossed that threshold.
I would argue as well, yes. If we're in celebdom, yes. This is more the, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan.
Right, I was
don't
about
know,
to
old
say,
rulers
yeah. What are you gonna do with
historically.
Alexander the Great, Aristotle, Socrates? What are you gonna do
Yeah.
with those guys? You know,
Right.
they've
Yeah,
they've
true.
founded the modern world, doing very horrible things.
Yep.
You gonna denounce all of Western culture? Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm doing it.
Go ahead.
I'm doing it right
Go ahead.
now.
Go live.
You've heard
Go,
it.
oh, you can't go live in the woods because that's Western
Right.
culture. You got to go live in the desert or in the jungle or something. Can't go live in the woods.
Trees are everywhere. Thank you very much.
All forests matter, not just rainforests. All
Wow,
forests
really?
matter.
You're gonna do that?
I don't want to hear any. I don't want to hear any "save the rainforest" out of your mouth, Bax. All forests matter. Okay. I think that's as close as we can get to that topic.
Is that as close? Because like what we could,
I think
so
that's
we
as
could
close as
either.
we get to that one.
So there's a tipping point here. Like we could just dive in, and
I mean, if you honestly wanted to, I would, but I feel
like I don't care. I mean,
feel
I
like
don't
we're
care.
more qualified to talk about other things.
I feel like we are as well. Also, enough people are talking about these things that I don't
Yes.
think we need to take
Enough
part.
more qualified people are talking about these things.
Enough more qualified people, and enough less qualified people.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
plenty.
Which
A
is
surplus
which is the issue. Which
a
is the issue
surplus.
at all is that
A surplus of unqualified people. We're definitely not going to be contributing to the surplus.
Okay. Have you seen the movie Whiplash?
Whiplash. Oh, it's on my computer. I own it. Like I own Whiplash. It's a possession.
Do you enjoy it?
Love it. That was my musical
Good.
training.
Good.
In marching band.
I'm going to save Whiplash discussion for my half because
Awesome. Things
so
to look
hold on.
forward to.
I'm going to not take notes last minute right now.
Awesome. Great. Add it to your very lengthy list on your ginormous notepad.
Of the poop ship, yeah, the poop ships. The poop ship is not a record hunter's map, and now Whiplash. All right,
Oh, man.
talking points.
Well, we talked about bad celebrities and we talked about Robin Williams. What do those have in common? Mental health. You're in Seattle, right? Area?
Seattle area, yeah,
Be in
greater Seattle
vicinity.
area. Yep.
Known to have a very high suicide rate, which a lot of people I think
Yes.
would dismiss as just being, you know, seasonal depression or whatever. But you're not that far north, and you know, if that was the case, there would just be, you know, more daytime lamps in the area, right? Like it's a pretty easy
Sure.
problem to fix if that is the problem. What's your what do you see culturally that has this vein running through it of mental health and not being able to cope with the world?
I see a lack of good escape options.
Mm.
I'm going to always harp on social media as the ultimate destroyer of human psyche. It is the thing
Wow.
that is the culminant. It is what will destroy us. It is what will
Wow.
kill us.
Wow.
It is what. Well, I don't think I'm even like. I don't think that's even far fetched. I think it's pretty.
Well, if I may offer a contrary opinion,
Oh, of course you may.
every behavior we witness online today has existed for thousands of years. It just has not been globally recognized and globally witnessed. And it's just an amplification of behaviors that have existed societally for thousands of years in all cultures across all times. And if anything, it's our one chance to actually address them and through cathartic release actually maybe start to outthink them and overcome them as a civilization.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, you know, banning people
Uh,
and excommunication from the church, same thing. Matchmaking, dating online sites, same thing. Private conversations in a Discord server and, you know, chatting at that party at the cabin that we don't talk to anyone about. It's the same thing. But it's on a more accessible, more global, more recognized scale.
I completely disagree. This
Awesome.
is great. Okay, this
Let's
is
do it.
no, the issue, because this misses the connection that's made between social media and a person. Like this completely neglects the instant satisfaction and instant gratification of a social media connection. It like when people post things on Facebook, people will sit there and wait for the likes to come in.
Gotcha.
That is not a behavior. That
Right.
is not a behavior
Right.
that we have historically at
I agree.
all.
That I agree with.
That behavior, if you sit there and stare for an hour and you get 0 likes, you get depressed.
Right.
Like like, so that driving factor, like, so that to tie into the original question, I think that when you look at a place like Seattle where you have 10 billion people in like 1 square mile, then and you just like expand that area like out, you have so many people connected in every single way via these digital connections where they're all trying to be noticed in a world that won't notice them.
Right.
Because if you notice everyone, you notice no one. Like
Right.
the idea is like people want to matter in society, which is totally understandable. And then if you want to matter, you want to be noticed, you want attention. If you don't get it, you're going to be a little sad about it.
Right.
And as somebody who actually like, you know, is like, I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and that's like we can go down like that if we want to, but like the idea is like I had to quit Facebook because once I was able to somehow get into like a third person perspective of my own experience on Facebook and realize that it had 0 positive effect on my life, then I was able to kind of like segue out. And that's not me saying everybody needs to. I am going to advocate that everybody delete Facebook, but that's, you know, whatever. But anyway, you guys are all
so
great.
here's
Everybody's
where I
awesome.
think
Yes.
the disagreement is coming from.
Do it.
I think we share different perspectives on the current state of the world. I think most people don't. I think most people are not hovering over their phone waiting for the likes to come in. And just as you described from your own testimonial, you removed it. You saw that it was a problem and you removed it. And, you know,
Yes.
it is a new technology. It has completely upheaved the entire way of existing in the world. And it takes time for societies to adjust to that. You have to grow up with it. You have to build cultural morality and tutoring where, like, your parents are like, hey, you're spending a lot of time on your phone. Just want to let you know, serotonin is a bitch. You might want to try to branch out to find other validations in your life because it's going to catch up with you. Like, you don't, there aren't like 80-year-old people going around like, yeah, well, when you're going up onto Snapchat and you're trying to find the right filter to get more likes than you got a month ago, like, you don't have that wisdom. It hasn't been generated yet, right? There hasn't been enough time for culture to catch up with the unheaving. It's a revolution of sorts, right? We haven't had time to build the wisdom to handle the new technology.
My rebuttal here is that the issue, you are correct. You are correct that it does take time, and this is unprecedented. Like but I think it being unprecedented also, like, it demolishes any comparison historically. I don't think we can look at history at all to try to explain social media because of how unique it is and what it's done to people.
Fair enough.
But what about social media is so important to notice is that the presentation that you have on social media is not you,
right?
And that is not how people perceive it. You get to put together the portfolio and resume of yourself as you want to be known,
right?
And then suddenly when you go and like meet people or hang out with people, you're like, this is not who I imagined you were going to be like.
Personality,
you know? Right? It's like exactly like there's a disconnect. But then I think if we're all on board to that point, then I would push the step farther where people are unfortunately putting more of their identity value in social media than they are in themselves, because when they go out as themselves, they just are, and people don't have a like button that they can push on your arm or something. Like there isn't this dopamine reinforcement on a consistent basis that's saying this is a good thing I'm doing and I'm being rewarded for it.
Right.
But on social media, you can be whoever you want, whenever you want, with whatever ideals, whatever philosophy you want, and people will encourage you. You can go into an echo chamber that will constantly encourage and reward those behaviors.
Right.
So in the sense that our brains are, these electrical circuits, and we are, as humans, machines. We are just reinforcing very specific behavior patterns, and basically social media tells us exactly who we are and what we're going to be.
It's a fair point and concern, and it's an accurate description of a proportion of people. I think we're still in a disagreement of what that proportion is.
Sure.
Because at this point, even if I were to assume your concerns of the overwhelming impact, I think social Darwinism still would play, right? The people who can't handle it will kill themselves, and only the people who can handle it will be left. And then the wisdom begins to build. Like, I don't see it as the end of all things. It might be a very uncomfortable evolutionary jump, like when algae started making oxygen into the atmosphere and everything started dying because there was this corrosive, this oxidizing molecule just killing everything's DNA, right? It's very uncomfortable. Like, oh my God, this is going to kill everyone. We need to stop this bacteria. That we can't. It's taking over everything. But now everything depends on oxygen, or essentially, not everything, but essentially everything, right? So I think you could very vaguely, if you squint at it, draw some historical reference. Like maybe even the printing press, you could argue, had the same effect. When written word became mass produced, was another, like you had the whole Renaissance, the revolution, right? So I think there have been vague similarities, maybe not at the speed, and maybe not recorded, right? And that's the other thing too, right? This is the first time in history everything is accurately recorded, right?
Accurately. Yeah.
So we have more record of it. We're more aware of it. And it could be the exact same things were going on in society 300 years ago, but we don't have as good of a record account, right? So I think it just comes down to opinion at that point of whether we think the scope is too big to recover from or not too big to recover from.
I want to, and to clarify, I'm not looking at social media itself as like it's a neutral agent.
Yes.
Like I certainly want to agree with that point, that whatever social media launches us into as a culture and as a species is whatever it is. Like, okay, like that. Yeah. And I want to certainly admit that we aren't people are not like hovering over their phones in the sense,
well, not all people.
Like
I'll admit there are plenty of people doing that, but not all people.
Correct. But I think the idea is that in that meantime, as like a small like point, like in the meantime where they aren't hovering over their phone, they are like scrolling through the Instagram feed and just like chucking hearts out on everything, and then waiting and watching as the hearts come in for themselves while they are not, so it's like, it's almost like a roundabout hovering, right? Like they're doing other social media things while their posts gain traction.
This is why I don't like anything on any media. You go to like my likes on any of my medias, there's maybe 10 things in there.
Sure.
I don't.
I use the likes as add to playlist. It's
exactly.
My add to playlist
exactly.
button.
It's like basically I use it as self-advertising. Like I want, when people go to my channel, I want them to see this video. Like that's what it's like. This is something I agree with, kind of a thing.
Right. To try to, okay, Seattle.
Yeah. Is that what we were talking about?
I think we were trying to discuss Seattle. Seattle is like, for me, and I've moved here from Boise. We've lived here, at least in the state of Washington, for 6.5, 7 years, ish. And then, but 2 years of that was not in Seattle. So let's say 4 years in Seattle. No more than that, 5.
Okay.
Anyway, so the point is, like, I don't have like the saturated knowledge of Seattle, but in my experience, it's very clear that everybody, like, it's just this big bustling beehive of things that are always going on all the time, and there's no escape from just finding purpose if you don't already have it. So if you're trying to discover purpose for yourself or discover purpose in your life, and you don't already have that established for what you're going to do, you're going to be led astray by the big city, by the insane amount of people in such a small area. And unfortunately, it's probably going to cause mental health issues that mental health awareness is one thing, but actually having the capacity to deal with every human being needing mental health, like counseling or therapy, to just like say, okay, let's find your purpose. Let's find what has value to you. And let's find ways to get that value to manifest itself in your life. Like, how can we do that?
Right.
And there are 99% of the population will not have that talk with somebody.
Right.
So either they'll go and that's the most frustrating thing for me, is because it seems everybody could probably, like, I talked to so many people today and I'm like, geez, I mean, everybody sounds like they could use a dose of therapy.
Yeah. I actually have someone I'm hoping to talk to today after the show. So
there you go.
Yeah.
But like our healthcare program can't sustain that.
No. I mean, you could draw a correlation or a parallel at least to global warming, right? Like, yes, you need to be aware of global warming. Good job. Now what? You're aware. Now what? The asteroid's coming. Well, okay, great. Oh. Now what?
This is good. This is actually really, I'm so glad you said that. That is how I view. So that's like, so social media is like this neutral thing. And I feel like that if we could go back in time, social media is like, for me, like an asteroid. And so it's more that right now, since it's so unprecedented, I'm responding in a way that acts as though you can somehow control social media. But no, the asteroid is coming. Wow.
That's
yeah, no, it's like yeah,
wow, it's there. That's really gonna hurt. I wish we were more prepared for this. if only we were more prepared for this.
Right.
So the discussion
becomes more about like, oh man, let's talk about the existence of that asteroid and what it means, instead of the fact that the asteroid's coming. Like that much is clear. That is clear. Like, so the asteroid is coming.
And so your view is like nuclear winter if we don't do something about it. My idea is like, well, there's going to be enough people in bunkers. Well, something's going to come back. Like so I think it's just again going back to our difference in opinion. It's like,
kind of. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. See, I don't think that's quite. No. What I'm trying to suggest is like, I agree that there's probably. It's more that I'm just bummed about what it will change us into. Not that we'll survive it. We'll survive it. Yeah. We'll turn into whatever we turn into. Like, it is whatever it is. But I just see all the people, like, I don't know, there's all these, like, otherwise really good people who are saying really bad things all the time only because of the existence of social media.
Right. They, like, make a career
That's more I'm talking about. It's like, I don't hate that this exists. I just hate what we've become.
We've made discussions before about the young pessimist and the old optimist, and I'm an old optimist, which might be the worst thing. So, I recuse myself. I recuse myself on a flawed character.
Just based on the character that made on the character select screen, I will be unable to participate in this quest.
I chose the wrong one.
you
guys are looking for a tank, and I'm a healer, and I can't help you guys. I'm sorry.
You do not have access to the tank quest line anymore. Yeah, no, only healer quest line. Oh my
god. Should we midstream mix up? I feel like we could use it at this point.
Yeah,
you're leaning out of frame. I've been down in this coffee, like looking for some kind of something to pull me out. Oh man. Should we
What is the midstream mix? What is?
That's right. You're the only. This is the only time the person didn't know what the midstream mix-up was going into.
I literally just showed up today.
Midstream mix-up.
Okay. Wow. This is. Look at this. Oh. Okay.
All right. There's the bags. All right. Oh, that was cool. Look at that.
What are we developing here? Look at this.
Okay. So last time we did a midstream mix-up, it turned into Record Hunters, right?
Okay.
So
Right.
this is something we talked about. Is
you want to do this?
What if
I
I
got it.
tilted
I got it. Okay.
and you provided commentary on the tilting?
Yeah.
But now,
Right.
okay, so I want to make sure you have the right mentality going into this. So we're gonna give you some character inspiration. You know how like when you're acting, you need like your character background, like your motive.
Yeah,
your
No, you got to get into it. I like it.
I'm gonna give you some motivation. Okay.
Okay.
So let's just
do it.
Some, as you described it, and I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit here, but on more than one occasion, I have not just thrown you under the bus. I've dug a trench, lined it with gravel, thrown you onto the gravel, paved over the top of you, and then opened a major city bus depot right in front of that part of the road. And just perpetually let the buses just crush you beyond all recognition for very, very long times. Is that, would you agree? Is that accurate?
I will not disagree.
Great. So I'm just gonna play 3 small clips here, just to give you some character motivation. Because here's, for those of you who don't know where we're going with this, the commentary is not going to be helpful. It might not even be critical. It's just going to be the most vindictive, daggers out of the eyes, vengeful casting that Bax can muster here. Okay, so, and I really want him to be in character, so I'm going to give him the proper motivation right now. So let's...
that wasn't even a good run.
Let's get this going. You might not be able to hear. All right, picnic over, ladies and gentlemen.
No offense, so trashy unicorn. You know, we're just...
Yeah, no, it's a picnic.
Yeah.
You were only 17 seconds behind the record on a picnic.
Right.
You had a basket in one hand, you had the wine in the other, you had the backpack chair on. Probably 2 engine blocks strapped to each foot, as you do.
Can I make this smaller so you can see it?
On a picnic.
Right. As
there we go.
That works, yeah.
It's a good moment.
And we're back to the random Sparkle Race!
Do you know which one this is?
Freaky Frankies! Random Sparkle Race. Now we've been trying to get the thing on the thing for this one. Now we need people to do the thing, okay?
Yep.
So it's gonna be time to do the thing. We
2
need
minutes on the
thingers. We need some thingers out here. People who want to thing. We're looking for record. Fastest
Everyone watching
record
the
hunters,
stream
better record hunters.
is in the race. Everyone watching the stream is in the race. Absolutely everyone watching. Everyone watching.
Absolutely.
Is in the race. Not a single
Make
person
it happen.
watching right now is not in this race. Every single person who is watching this race right now is in this race.
Look at his face. He's scrambling. Like
every single one.
Where's he going? Where's he going?
Of the people watching this race.
I'm trying to connect to it. I'm trying to connect. Right. I'm trying to connect the dots.
Every person watching.
Here comes the moment of realization. There it is!
All right. You know, just to, you know, I always like going through my playlists and stuff.
No, that's great.
And you know, if I want to like recapture some previous record hunters,
that's great.
You know, it's good to be able to go back, right, and like watch all the videos in the playlist for, you know, record hunters, right?
Neither of us just completed.
Like if I wanted to watch the 3rd promo video or the 5th promo video that I created, you know the videos I created for record hunters. It's always good watching those back in the playlist. You know, just to kind of relive the good moments that we've shared on this stream, you know? So I thought I should share that with everyone because it's one of the things I enjoy doing.
And then to top it all off at the end,
you know,
right? At the end,
if you actually want all of the videos for record hunters, make sure you check out my YouTube channel.
Oh my God.
Because I actually have all the videos in that playlist.
Here it comes. Did you join this race? Back's batting 1,000 today. This is good. This is real good. Shen's teaming out in front on the left-hand side. Skips the bongo pads as they go. Good. Okay. Do you feel motivated? Do you feel motivated? Are you ready?
my!
Do you feel motivated? Are you ready? That's the question. Are you?
I mean,
in...
those were pretty pretty funny. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Some good stuff.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna tilt. Again,
You tilt. No,
I
you
couldn't
tilt.
get
Yeah, you
ignorance
do what
to
you-
agree with this. He doesn't believe in the abuse, which
Got
very
it.
out of character in my opinion, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't know if so. Okay. I think I'm kind of okay. I will. Yeah. No. Good.
Yeah. So again, we're not looking for insightful.
Are you still talking?
critical? Oh, I'll be in character then, I guess. My bad.
I don't.
Make sure I don't forget to join the mustache in, and I'm gonna start tilting now because I'm gonna pretend that there's a hierarchy. Like I'm the player, he is the sportscaster, and it's a one-way communication. So I
I
can't.
can't be mean.
There we go.
I mean,
Here we go.
Okay.
All right, starting the
Ugh.
clock. I forgot to put
Now-
a minute
now-
on the timer.
Now, so we have 10 seconds. Shens hates all of you. This is very obvious. It's something you
Off
look
to a
back,
good start.
you look into their play. You look into what they've been going through for tilting, how much they've been trying to do for tilting. At the end of the day, they do not care if you are involved at all. Okay, they just want to use your marbles and abuse your marbles. Now, this lineup in the back right, this is actually a very amateur move. You can see it moving out towards center here. This is something that people do when they want to feel safe with their tilting. This is something they do when they want to try to feel better about what they're about to do on the course. Once again, just want to reiterate, he doesn't care about your marbles as we do go down these steps. It looks cool, but people who want things to look cool when they do things in tilting are usually pretty bad at tilting. We are going to go back to the bottom right of the staircase here. You'll notice that on each side of the staircase, there weren't any walls there. Shen's a little bit too much of a chicken shit to go for a side collection there. Is going to try to go up onto the second part here to get it together. Now, I just don't know about what we can be putting together for this run. Now, it's just, listen, I was talking to Bob the other day about this, okay? We were chatting over some whiskey and scotch, and whenever I see a V clump like that, I just get disappointed because we're looking for the best. Okay, what we're trying to establish. Do you have to use those? He used the second V clump. He has V clumped twice in under 1.5 minutes. A double V clump. Now this is something. It's just it's rough. It's rough because we're looking for this like very professional. We want to inspire people. People are showing up here. They're trying to get information on. Oh, how could I be better at tilting? Oh, well, let me show you the easiest way to look like a total noob. And then it's like, and then they just go through and just like clump up over and over. So okay, clumping up left side now. It's kind of an interesting choice to clump up left side. I can't believe they're actually gonna. Wow, they're just gonna go right over to the right here. They're gonna keep it nice and slow. Okay, so just take a breath, everybody. Take a breath. If you were expecting this to be going faster, you were mistaken. If you wanted information on how to be better at tilting, the answer is to go as slow as possible, hit every single clump you can possibly find on the map. You can turn anything into a clump. Look at that. Perfect. Clump off right side. That's just like that. Easy. You can clump. I could actually probably call out the clump at any point in time. You could watch Shen's clump it up on a side. Okay, this is okay. Now what you'll expect here is a clump, like I just said, and what do you know? There's going to be a clump on the right side. Clumps up, even loses a marble on the clump. Wow, lost a marble on the clump. Now listen, I actually apologize for the viewers at this point. The audience expected a little bit more. I expected a little bit more. Loses a marble on the backside of that one too. This is okay, and now it's got a spread. The car goes driving right off the edge of the cliff. Can't hold it together. Going back over here, a clump left side over to the clump right on the S-curve. Once again, I do apologize to the audience. This is not what we were expecting. But has decided, didn't want to go for it there even. Like, even after everything is all set, he's got everything spread out over there on the bottom side. The ramp was down, said, nah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to clump on the back right side. So he goes for clump back to get them back together because he wants everything to look pretty as he's moving forward here. And by this point in time, I mean, losing a marble at this point would be ridiculous. We don't expect anything to get lost because we're going to have a 4-clump process. Now, there's going to be, okay, actually denying the clump there. So we do have, so denied, we actually have a denial, a clump denial early. Now, that actually is more amateur than the clump itself because you got to clump once. So you want to clump early, clump left side instead. Now we're going to go to the right. Now, this is a very slow process. I do apologize. I hope everybody will forgive us, and we will try to use some better content coming up in the future. Thank you for watching Tilting on Shen's TV, where you will see apparently not the most professional tilting.
I was going so slow because I was like, if I kill a marble, I'm never going to hear the end of it. And then I killed 3 marbles. I was like, this will all be worth it as long as I don't lose any marbles. And then I lost the marble. Do we do one more, or are we good? I mean,
I don't know if I can keep that going. I think I might have outdone myself for my high criticism.
As far as, like, you know.
Whew.
As far as.
Oh, hello.
You know. What do you call it? As far as mystery mix-up goes, I think mission accomplished. I think it's served its purpose. Oh my god. Whew.
Watch out, because now there's going to be a bunch of calls for tilting commentary. They're just like, hey, Shen's is tilting, cute commentate.
Oh, man. That was good.
That's good stuff.
That was good. Ugh.
Good run, by the way. Good run. Well done.
I was hoping not to.
You lost some marbles on level 15.
I was hoping not to lose any marbles. But I may have been laughing too hard.
So the funny part was you lost the marble, and that snowballed, and suddenly the control of the marbles went very, very poorly from that point on.
Okay. If we can't detect the influence of God, does it matter if he exists or not?
No.
Awesome. Well, we solved that one. All right, your turn.
Next topic.
Your half. Take it away.
Wait, what? It's my half, but you're going to toss out the... Wait, was that like the...
I agree.
Okay. My turn for my half. If we cannot detect the influence of God, doesn't matter if they exist or not.
I think it does a little bit.
Oh, spicy.
Because just because you can't detect it doesn't mean it isn't there, right?
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about whether it matters.
Right. So, but if there's just enough to suggest the idea, I think it's worth deliberating, right? Because it's not even important to establish whether or not God exists. What's important is how it affects free will, right? Because if we are being tested in some weird way, then it makes things much more clear, I think, right? Because it's impossible for a human being to contemplate their influence on society as it ripples out through the eons, right? Like, you don't know if you're making the right decision or not. Like, I have a friend who's a very bad nihilist, but like one argument he brings up is like, you know, a lot of people died and cultures were completely erased during the medieval wars, but now there's some like really good countries in Europe that are kind of founded off of those countries succeeding and existing. And his current argument is like, maybe it's a good thing that a bunch of Jewish people were pushed into Israel during World War II, and just not enough time has elapsed for that good thing to come out, which is again, he's a terrible nihilist, and he tries to justify that over a long enough timeline everything is for the better. But
That's the worst
It's
nihilist.
exactly exactly.
That's comical. That's
what I'm saying.
worthy.
That's like, he is the worst nihilist. However, it does raise that point of like a human being can't really fully comprehend the ripples of their actions over time, right? So by making a more personal moral account, it becomes a lot more clear to the individual what the quote unquote right thing to do is. And just a bunch of people trying to do the right thing generally does make things better. Obviously, there are problems with that when ideas clash, but generally, I would say it makes things better because it's gotten us this far, right?
So what I'm trying to, so there, I feel like there's a lot. Once again, we're in like all these, and I need to pick one to put on the slide to put under the microscope.
And guess whose half it is now? You're the one who deferred. Don't look at me. You deferred.
It's true. No,
you deferred. It's your turn.
100%. You're right. Yep. That's good for you. Okay. So great. I feel that the first statement you made, where you say if there's a suggestion of the thing, it's worth exploring, perhaps that gives a little too much credit to exploring too many different things. Because the problem here is the difference between deism and theism. The problem is if we're saying a God exists, and so there's this supreme being who is like, boom, everything exists, and they're like, I'm gonna go binge watch The Simpsons, and then they go sit down and they don't care anymore, right? Versus the theistic idea of a supreme being, right? And the supreme being of the theistic idea says, I care. I am still here and I care about what's happening. So if we want to talk about, so first we should separate. I'm willing to entertain deism because I can't prove that that's not true, right? We can't prove that's true or not true. Like, sure, maybe a God does exist. If we want to say maybe the Christian, maybe the Islamic, maybe those gods exist. Well, now we have a completely different conversation that we need to have.
And I think that's where you get into trouble, is when you try to pinpoint it, right? Like with how little we know about the physical universe, percentage-wise, right? And then now trying to entertain ideas on the non-physical, like how much even less do we actually know? So I think that just comes from hubris, right? So if you look at most ideas of what a god is, there's some threads in there that have some merit. But to try to be like, oh no, they figured it out. Like they didn't even know what an atom was. There's no way they figured it out. I'm sorry. It's not possible. It's not possible.
There's actually the movement called possibilianism. And the movement itself, possibilianism, it's an actual movement. I recommend people look this up. It's very
like
interesting. And it simply states, it simply states that it's too ridiculous for us to assume we figured it out.
Right.
That's the whole movement is just
I'm
like,
on board.
I think the example they actually use is there's this huge, imagine a black billboard. Yeah. And then you take like a little dot and you make like 5 dots on it. And then you say, we figured it out. Those 5 dots are like the 5 most like popular religions across the world. And we say, we got it.
Right.
They're just, they claim the absurdity of that is,
can I draw
like,
a very
should
interesting
in itself
parallel?
be defeatist.
Can I draw a very interesting parallel?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what's really cool about this. All right, so numbers. Ooh, I've been wanting to find a way to talk about this.
Damn it.
Here we go.
I mean,
numbers.
go for it.
Numbers. All right. Integers. We got integers, right? Integers. There's an infinite number of them. Integers. We got it, right? Now, just to quickly clarify, infinity is a size, not an amount. So by that, I mean you can have a big infinity and you can have a tiny infinity. Not all infinities are equal. They're endless. That's the definition, is endless. But like, think of it this way, right? You could have an endless line of integers, or you could have an endless line of every decimal. And because decimals can be infinitely long, you now have a layer, right? You have a layer of infinite things in an infinite
I'm actually struggling with this. I'm struggling with this.
Right? So like if I took 2 and cut it in half, I get to 1, right?
Sure.
And if I get 1 and I cut it in half, I have to stop. integer-wise. There's no integer to represent 1/2, correct?
Right.
So that infinity has a limit. It's a size. There's a certain size you can shrink it down to, right? It's endless, but you can't divide it infinitely. But
Well, you can.
well, no, because now you have to bring in the decimals, right? So with decimals, now you can go from 1 to a half, and you can cut that
Right.
half in half, and you cut that, and now you have an endless division. So there's an infinity with a finite division, and there's an infinity with an infinite division, two different sizes, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
just as a it's
Nope.
a lot more complicated. I'm trying to simplify it here. I'm trying to
I don't. I get the complication, but what I'm trying to understand is like, okay, so if we have like I remember doing limits,
Yeah.
and I remember like doing the things in the calculus and all that,
Yeah.
and like I can't understand how infinity would be separately sized because infinity is endless. It's
Endless.
not. But it doesn't have like a closure. It's not like it's a
Right.
loop. It's not
Right.
an endless loop. It's an endless line.
right. Endless.
So the lines aren't going to
but
change.
it still has
They're just-
bits
they're
in
two
it.
li-
It still has bits in it. It's endless, but it has bits, right? That's the difference, right? So different things can be endless. But
Agreed.
some-
So I'm good there.
Some have finite bits that are endless, and other things have infinite bits, like atoms, right? You can shrink everything down in the universe to the size of an atom, but if you want to go smaller than an atom, you can't use atoms.
So you're saying we are at the thickness of the line, not the line itself.
Correct. Sure.
Okay.
If that
Continue.
helps you, that's great. All I'm trying to
does.
establish
We're-
is that there are different sizes of infinity.
I'll-
Both are
I'll allow
endless, but they're different sizes. Okay.
Overruled.
Good. Okay. So with that in mind, integers is just a one small infinite. It's a small infinite.
Okay.
Right? Then the
Good.
decimals are a big infinite, right? That's a much bigger infinite.
Good.
That kind of it includes all the integers, right? Because 1.0000000, right, is still 1. So
Yep.
so each time we're adding a category, we're nesting. We're including everything that
Got
we've
it.
mentioned so far and then adding a bigger clump on top of that,
Sick.
right?
Great.
Okay.
I'm in.
So integers, decimals. Now, we get into some weird things like certain fractions, like 2/3, right? Can't be decimal because it's an infinite decimal. So 0.6 repeating is not exactly 2/3. It represents 2/3, but it's not exactly 2/3. So now we have these fractions, right? So yes, we have infinite decimals, but we also have things that can't be represented exactly by decimals. They're a tiny bit off, right? So like 2/3, or things like that nature. Okay, so that's the next nest. Now we have another nest around that. Things that we can't even put into a fraction, like pi, right? Pi is an
Okay.
infinite sum of fractions. So it's this
Good.
calculable thing. So and that number of numbers is even bigger, right? Because
Sure.
if you have an infinite number of fractions and then your next construction is an infinite sum of fractions, right? Then that's infinite, right? You're increasing the size again, right? Because the fractions is just one fraction, but a sum of infinite fractions is an infinite fraction list for each number.
Got it.
Right? Okay.
Okay, good.
So we have that. And now we get into this weird realm of calculable numbers, right? So just like pi is an infinite sum of fractions, we could do that for anything. We could say,
True.
add and subtract integers at a random interval. Or we could say, keep dividing by the next number. So 1 divided by 2 divided by 3 divided by 4 divided by 5. Like we can make these infinite calculation numbers. And that is even bigger, or the same size as pi technically, but that's even bigger. It's just we can create an infinite function essentially. Now
Wow, okay.
this is all the numbers we know about up to this point. This is what we can get
Got
to.
it.
Now
Good.
here's the problem. That fraction is the small infinity compared to the next infinity, which is incalculable numbers, right? So arbitrarily, we could say something like it's a decimal of all the integers, so 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. So it's an infinite thing. But then you say every random digit add 1, right? So you can't even calculate it because the method of calculating it is random. Now, you might be saying this is completely arbitrary, but when you talk about certain things, like let's say I wanted to randomly generate a computer program and see if it works or not. That is actually, the probability of it working is an incalculable number because it's dependent on the size of the program, like what your character limit is. It's dependent on what you define as functioning, as actually working, right? Like not getting an error or something like that. So there's no way to make one percentage, but there is a number that represents that percentage that is modular depending on the conditions. Like it's a number that's like fighting you back. Like it's a number that as you calculate it, it's changing essentially. Okay. And so these incalculable numbers that we can't even describe with current mathematics are that bigger infinity to the smaller infinity of numbers we're currently aware of. So going back to the billionism, 1 in a billionism, what was it? What's the term?
Possibillionism.
Possibillionism. Thank you. So going back to the possibillionism is that same concept of like, even though we know an infinite number of numbers that are infinitely calculable, there's still this bigger realm of incalculable numbers that we can't even describe currently. And I think that parallels perfectly to the reality described in like our knowledge and position in the universe compared to the universe.
Good. Thank you for that. That was brilliant, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know if that helps, but I've been dying to bring that up, and I finally got to bring it up.
It's really good. Let's look at calculable and incalculable. So if we look at, so the problem is you can't ever say incalculable numbers are true.
They are true. It was actually just proved 2 years ago through a mathematical proof that they are that they exist.
I'm going to rephrase. You're right. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm saying, let me rephrase. Incalculable numbers are not the truth.
Correct.
So the problem, so I think we can, so if we're tying back into like how we're looking at like a supreme being or a god or a deity, we're looking at how they can matter. It's tough for me to draw the parallel between saying, well, it could be there, or it's interesting to note that it could be there, and thus truth value has been created.
Right.
That's the disconnect. So if we were on board with the idea that we could have this idea of God like up there, could be there doing things and doing shenagle and bagels and whatever, that's great, but we can't take that and actually take it down into reality and apply it and say this has as much value, this big infinity has as much as value as the small infinity, because the small infinity is something that we as human, like, I guess I'm saying that even if we progress to the point where we're like shaking hands with God and playing poker, like, I hope we get there. That'd be great. Right? That'd be great. Awesome. But right now we aren't there, and to suggest that we are going to be playing poker with God like down the line because we're such good buddies that's the frustration for me when it comes to actually, you know what I mean?
So let me deepen this parallel. This is why I wanted to put this on the table. Okay, so when particles spontaneously exist and annihilate in empty space, that happens. That's true random by our mathematical models. There's no way of predicting it. But maybe that random is a pattern, and the pattern is just an incalculable number. So if we could learn how to manage incalculable numbers, we could reduce the unpredictable randomness of random particle generation into a calculable thing. Like calculable. It's incalculable, but we could manipulate it. We could work with it, do something with it. How that translates to the God argument being human beings have a bias of being living creatures. So what we say is right and wrong is usually in relation to living and not living. A deity, infinite in scope, that created an infinite physical universe, or even just happens to be in one, like maybe they didn't create it, maybe they just float around and fool around for a while, whatever it might be, right? We can't use a human bias morality to it. Like maybe there's a morality in a deitic sense of involving yourself in a creation. or maybe there's a certain philosophy of how much you interact, or like there's these things that maybe there's laws, maybe there's morals that govern these deities that have no basis in human morality, because it's
Sure.
that next scope of infinity out.
Sure.
And
But
maybe
that comes back to the issue. Does it matter? It's undetectable for us.
well, if that morality works for governing an entire universe, how much more would that morality work for governing a finite being?
But we are still. You are correct. This is the right question to ask. But this is still a complete hypothetical.
Yes, correct.
That's the issue. We have to come. This is all like every time you make a statement, you have to add the allegedly word after it, right? Like, if this being floated around allegedly and created everything allegedly, like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So if we're still in the realm of hypothetical, I think it's fun to entertain that. But I think we still are asking the question,
You ready?
like, does it matter?
You ready for the loop around? You ready for the
Oh,
loop
loop
around?
it, loop
All
it.
right.
Just do it. Just
So-
loop it.
I did throw away a phrase briefly that said it's gotten us to here so far, right?
Sure.
But then tying back to your concerns of like maybe we're not ready for the meteor that is social media, right? So what we have right now is not working to handle the problem of social media. So maybe we need to explore these possibilities to see if there's truth in there, because maybe we do find that truth and it is something we can use to help
Sure.
turn this around, to stop
Okay.
the meteor.
Okay. Okay.
So there you go.
Okay.
We did it.
I like it. I like it. So let's.
So
I don't
is
think
there
we can
merit
necessarily
in
tie a
entertaining
bow
the-
on it, but
Yeah.
it's like you have two, like the springs are at their very like end, like you're like struggling because they can't go any further. You're like, and you're just you're almost there. Okay, so anyway, okay, as long as the search for these things is not presupposing a conclusion,
Yes.
I am down for
Awesome.
anything. Like
Awesome.
you name it, and I will help with the endeavor.
Sounds
you
good.
know what I mean?
Sounds good. I'm on board.
Whiplash might be my favorite movie
Oh,
of all time. So the thing that I like
good.
about Whiplash, and this could be this could be like
all right.
I think
Wait. Before we get there, because you've already made a presupposition, if I may. Whiplash, Birdman. They're close. I'm willing to lean in the Whiplash direction for this conversation, but I want to acknowledge Birdman before we commit to Whiplash. Can we do that?
good.
Okay, great.
We could now. This is good. So let's set this up like this isn't necessarily for me a discussion about good movies as much as it is a discussion about what it takes to be great
Birdman.
and accurately depicting that greatness. Birdman was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I think it touches on the same thing.
It does. It kind of gets there, doesn't it? I think it goes in a little bit of a different direction where it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so miserable, and then things work out. Like,
Okay.
like I don't know,
Fair enough.
like it
Fair
just, I don't know, kind of thing. But if we want to talk about like the choreography of Birdman, shoot, like when you have 45 minutes of like just a camera shot, like that blows my mind, and that made it. I liked watching it just for that aspect.
Fair enough.
Just for that aspect.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Whiplash is like for me when he's saying he's like the two worst words in the English language are good job. Like that, I don't know why that hit me as hard as it did, but it's really true. And it like if you like if you're never pushed, if you're always allowed to say like it's okay, this is fine,
Yeah.
you will never probably become the best version of what
Right.
you could be.
As Bob Ross said, if you're happy with a painting, stop painting. Because congratulations,
Correct.
you have nothing to improve upon. You did it. You won painting. You beat it. You game over. You did it. Good job. Pop the cartridge. Put in the next one.
And it's crazy too to hear like I don't know how Bob Ross necessarily intended that, but to me that sounds like Bob Ross not being a very Bob Ross.
Well,
Like, that
that's
sounds like-
the beauty of Bob Ross is he sneaks it in there.
You know,
He sneaks it,
like when he
doesn't he?
makes those jokes,
Yeah.
like I love having all this control in painting because at home I have no control. Like he just sneaks them in there. You're like, God damn, Bob Ross.
Damn, we tossed it.
Like,
in. Yeah,
like
it's
this is a man who has
domestic
no
commentary
control over his
coming in
life,
from
and
Bob Ross.
this 30 minutes once a week is like his only window to not just be in a crushing, overbearing, oppressive society. Like, he's created a little sanctuary for himself, and he just wants to share it with as many people as possible.
It's good. So good. Whiplash is great.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. I mean, I don't know. That's it.
Is
I think-
Whiplash
I think I
based on
thought
a real
there would be-
story? It's based on real world. Like that's
It's based on it's based on the director's own experience.
yeah. It's
with
just,
his upbringing in a jazz studio band.
Yeah.
Although
any good
ahead.
music program is like that.
So there are a lot of people in the music community who very much hate, like vehemently hate Whiplash for how it has portrayed these things. And to these people, I say that's okay. Actually, it's okay for you to do all these things because this movie is not about saying, "Hey, everybody, do you want to know what to go through?" Like, even if it is what happens, it's completely beside the point of the motivation and the story and the character arc of taking somebody who wants to create greatness, putting them in a situation where they are willing to do the thing no one else will, to the point of like emotional abuse, and then having a person who wants to be great so bad meet with this person and these lines sync up and move forward. Like, that is what the story is about. Any other discussion like outside of what it means in reality is completely separate from the motivational aspect of the arc in the story.
If I could throw real in
And that's
quick, it's one critique that'll always stick in my mind that a friend tried to, like, they were quoting someone's article that didn't like the movie to justify why they didn't like the movie, and their point was jazz is about making music together, and the movie was about nothing but attrition. I was like, except the very last shot when his eye raises and then the movie ends. Like, that's the whole point. It's like, that's what it takes to get to the point where you can start jazz. Like, it's not a story about jazz. It's a story about what it takes to get to jazz. Like, that's the whole point of the last shot, is his eye goes from "I'm going to kill you" to "we are brothers forever." And that's the whole point of the movie. It's like what it takes to get there. It's like what it takes to get to jazz. And
It's showing and that's a good point. It's showing the levels, and you do have this like arrival moment of like, okay, yeah, maybe jazz is about playing with other people, and that's great, but why? Like, at some point, wouldn't that person have a threshold where you have three people who are inept musicians in a jam session that sound awful? They wouldn't say, "Oh yeah, this is jazz."
Right. Exactly.
No, they would expect some kind of technical ability in the musicians. And Whiplash is a movie about taking that technical ability and making it everything. Like, your technical prowess in accomplishing what is asked of you must be perfect. I'm making you a soldier of jazz. You will do, your regiment will be perfect. You will not, and if you aren't perfect, if you haven't seen the movie, you need to go see it. You need to go see it.
Destroy you.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
I find it inspiring, and I don't know how to be inspired by it, because let's say I want to be great. Let's say I have an aspiration. I want to be a great streamer, not a good streamer.
No, your book. Let's go over your book. You want your book to be great.
My book.
You're writing a book.
Book to be great.
You want your book to be great.
Well, no, because we can't do that. I have too much up there about the book.
I was hoping we could go there, but I understand if you don't want to go there. I get it.
No, we can, but like literally, I'm looking over here and I have like it's too much.
I hear you.
There's my shelf is full of just writing and stuff.
Okay, stream.
If I want my stream to be great, what do I do? Like, how much reckless abandon do I have to apply and completely ignore everything else before me? Like, it's so difficult, like, because I want to be inspired by that greatness and that idea that you have to literally sacrifice everything. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Family, friends,
Yep.
relationships,
Yep.
health,
Yep.
mental stability, all of it. If you want to like achieve these things in the way that this movie projects it, like people who are great have a work ethic that has no prisoners. Literally all else can be damned.
Yep.
Everything else can be mushed, but you can destroy it. You can blow it up, set it on fire.
Yep.
And you need to, not only is that something that you can do, it's necessary to achieve that, because anything else will be in your way on that path. So it's weird, because there's that part of me that says, okay, well, that means that if anything else we do that we aren't doing that, we're making like a puppet version of what could be. And then also that part of me that wonders if it's kind of a defeatist mindset that you have to kind of look at everything as not good enough.
Mhm.
How can you be how can you be content if everything is always not good enough?
David Bowie.
Is great.
This is how I govern my life.
David Bowie.
David Bowie. Okay, so there's that Hallmark Facebook post where like, shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll find yourself among the stars. Like
Which is ridiculous.
All right, but
can we talk about that?
I take that to heart, though. I take that to heart. If you want to naysay it, and then I can pro say it after. But go ahead.
The stars are so much better than the moon. God damn it!
That's the point, and that's the point. That's the point. So here's my thought: is if, like, in a physical reality, if you shot yourself to a star other than the sun, you're never gonna make it. It's too far for you, a mortal man, to reach. It's not gonna happen, right?
Okay.
So judging yourself on whether or not you got to the star is stupid, because everyone's gonna fail.
Okay.
But just in trying and to see how far you can get, that's what matters. Seeing
100%,
how
yeah.
close you can get to that star. But like, that one guy was like a third of the way. Like, that was amazing. How did he get a third of the way to the nearest star? It's 4 light years away. He was like a third of the way there, right? Like, you would talk about that guy. Like, that's the point. Is like, how far can you get? So if instead of we take the physical into the anti-physical, like, the star is perfection. You're never gonna get there. But how far can you get? Like, don't just like you get out of the solar system and you're in the radiation belt. You're like, well, that's a terrible thing. I'm just gonna park it right here. Like, why would you? I would shoot those people in the face. I would.
In the face.
I would kick them in the nuts,
Oh my God.
rip their arms off, and shoot them in the face. Like, you don't
Wow.
deserve to exist.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't
Right.
You don't deserve to exist if you're happy just hitting the stop button. I'm sorry.
No.
There's so many
No.
people on this
Dude.
planet. You're a waste of space. Why are you stopping? There's no reason to stop. Like, you are hogging resources other people would die for, and you're just gonna hit the stop button.
True. I mean, true. Yeah.
Like, it's disgusting. Like, it's
okay.
morally
Ooh.
disgusting to me that people
Excellent. Let's
in
talk.
a privileged position hit the stop button.
Okay, so does that mean that privilege necessitates work?
Yes.
That's good. Expand on that. Why does privilege necessitate work?
Because we are finite beings in a finite space with finite resources. And if you are squandering those resources that could otherwise be used to further human civilization, it's treason, right? Like, I look at a lot of politicians that are in a position to make things better, and they choose not to just be richer. That's treason in my mind. I think any politician who makes a deal for money rather than the people they represent should be, and like, fully tried and committed and convicted of treason and, guillotined in the public square. I fully believe that. It's literally treason. You are given a tremendous amount of power with a tremendous amount of resources, and you squandered it, and you've hurt millions of people, if not billions of people,
just to make yourself a little better off. And that there's that benevolent nihilism where like the better I am, the better things around me are, which is true. But what you could have done more than that, like that's a very tiny thing. Like, yes, it works, but it works on a very small scale. The millions of people you could have made better had you not done it that way. Like, that's treason. How is that not treason? And I look at it beyond the government scope, in just the human scope, you know. There's people who can't even get water for the day. And you're here pouring it down the drain, hitting the pause button on your life. Like, it makes me really upset. I'm like emotional right now, actually. Like, I'm like actually emotional right now. I'm gonna go off camera for a second, actually.
Okay. I think there is. Can I still be heard?
Yes.
Am I still?
We're still in conversation.
No, this is good. Okay, good. No, we're having a TP break. No, this is good. Okay, so this is interesting because this brings up. So I'm actually like, and I think so. I haven't heard what you've just said in the way that you said it. So it's new. It's a new concept to me to be like treasonous against your species. That kind of a concept with the finite resources. So I like that, and I'm gonna have to wrestle with that idea. That's cool. This is very counter to a very popular mindset currently going around, which is fuck it. So I think especially in, you know, generations X, Y, and Z, with the hopelessness that approaches on the horizon, like this just debilitating like destruction of both social constructs of the earth that we live on, and of seeing the people in power who have the resources to make change not doing it, and then them saying we have to inherit this world,
right? Like,
so there's a lot. So they have this concept, and you know, partially or even fully, like understandably so, of, well, I'm going to do whatever I can with this thing that I've been given, whatever this life or existence is.
Right.
And then we'll kind of see what comes out on the other side. What would your thoughts be towards these people who are responding to potential hopelessness in the future and maybe using their resources for pleasure instead?
Right. Well, that's kind of what Puma Cat Run's touching on in chat right now.
Oh.
That's why the Gandalf line is so potent. In the cave, in the mind.
I know exactly which one you're talking about, too. As soon as you said the Gandalf,
it's not our choice to decide what life we're given. It's our choice to decide what to do with it in the time that we're given, right? That's the whole point. Is yes, you are correct. We do not have a choice in being born, but congratulations, you're born. Suck it up and do the best you can. That's your job.
Good stuff.
You didn't get a say in the matter, and you still don't have a say in the matter, so do your fucking job.
Right.
Like, yeah. if you really want to say in the matter, that's where suicide comes back, right? Like that's right. Go ahead. Like, if you honestly think you don't matter, then why are you still here? Like, you matter. There's no reason to commit suicide. You matter. You have a job to do. You need to do it. Don't be a nihilist. Don't make a suicide pact. You have a job. Do it.
And don't be a bad nihilist. Either.
Dude, definitely don't be a bad nihilist.
If you're going to be a nihilist, be a nihilist. Okay, so I think this also ties... So I can pull this back a little bit here. If we look at resources, so I am, like, in full admission, I am a deconverted Christian. I was born and raised Christian in Boise, Idaho, in the United States of America, in a very, like, Christian area, and then deconverted. One of the things that most bothered me about Christianity itself was that people would hoard money. And then I would grab a Bible and I'd look through it and I'd be like, nowhere in here does it talk about hoarding money.
In fact,
it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for for the rich to enter heaven. Like it's
Yeah.
so anyway, it actually projects the opposite. And it was frustrating to me to try to come to terms with this idea where I would see people, and here's the excuse they would give. It was exactly what you already said. It was, well, the reason I'm hoarding this is because if I were to help people now, I would help 5 people.
Right.
But if I get really rich, I'll help 100 people.
Right.
And then what ends up happening
That
is
number
they
just keeps
end up
getting bigger.
helping 0 people.
Right.
Because they could
Why
always
help why help 100
more
when I could
people.
help 1,000? And then why help 1,000 when I could help 1,000,000? And then why help 1,000,000 when I could help 1,000,000,000? And then you die, and it goes to your children, and then they're horrible people.
It's like that's the issue is yeah, like the philosophy of it is so like innately selfish, but you can't, like, it's too tough to really point out because you are also simultaneous. You know what? I don't even think the discussion about like the discussion about God philosophically as a worldview, whether they exist or not, is interesting. But the more like passionate or necessary discussion is about religion. Like it is not about God. Like the necessary discussion for society would be about religion because
Organized
it's very
religion,
frustrating. Yes, organized religion.
religion.
Yeah, not the yes, correct. Yeah. OR, the
Yeah.
or.
Yeah.
Just because for all the help that could be offered, I am frustrated. I get like frustrated as a member of society who tries to do my best, and I help people, and I go, give money and buy people meals and do stuff. I'm doing as best as I can in my life, and I could be better. I could be 100 billion times better. But it's frustrating to then see the people who claim to be the ones sent to help.
Yeah.
I am your savior. And then they do nothing.
Yeah.
And I sit here, I'm like, well, this person, but they need help right now. No! I will help 10 people in 10 years instead of that one person.
Yeah.
I'm done.
And the irony being that if they help those 5 people immediately, they would probably be in a position to help even more people than just saving it up for themselves.
It's crazy.
That's the irony of it. And Puma Cat Run, if you do have lengthy contributions, make sure you use the Discord just so you don't get timed out. Well, that's the wrong. That's
wow.
The,
no, this
that's
is
the
good.
wrong one.
Nope,
but
yep.
But just to comment on that, I think the exact opposite of that, right? Because you're judging the worth of that life based on that person's experience of their own life. Why is that more important than the 100 or 1,000 people that they made food available? Like, let's say they're a grocery clerk, and because of their proficiency in their job, they were able to provide a cheap, reliable food source to hundreds, if not thousands of people for 40 years. How is that not a life worth living?
Ooh. Okay, real quick, just to make sure that we're on the same page with that, to clarify, the suggestion here is not that everybody go and be the next, whatever.
Correct.
Dalai Lama, CEO of the biggest company. Like, that's not the suggestion. The suggestion is...
Because that's not the life everyone's given.
Right. The suggestion is with your resources, you just knock it out of the park. You hit a home run.
Yep.
Hit a home run with your resources.
Yep.
That's the suggestion, right? It is not that everybody be the idol.
Yep.
Or be an idol in your own way.
The way I don't know if I've said this before, but I'll say it again. If you look at the preciousness of the human mind, right? You think of the universe as a quarry, and the human mind the diamond, right? The universe is gigantic, and there's only like 90 billion human minds that have ever existed, and they're like 2-3 pounds. They're not even a meter in size. Like, it's this tiny little thing, and this tiny little thing is the universe's consciousness, right? Because it's we always like separate ourselves from animals. We always separate ourselves from nature. We always separate ourselves from the universe. You're a part of the universe. You're not any different from the universe. You are a part of the universe. So if you are conscious of the universe is conscious of itself, which means you are the universe's consciousness. And only 90 billion of those consciousnesses has ever existed. And to this day, those consciousnesses are more accurate than they've ever been.
So your
Yeah.
your brain is so valuable in the universe, so valuable, and to spend that one brain on just making itself better, instead of spending it to make as many other brains more valuable. That's the atrocity I'm talking about, right? If one brain makes its own self-worth better, it's only improved one brain. But if that one brain even just makes 10 other brains much better, now that one brain has magnified its value 10 times, because now 10 more brains are more valuable instead of just one.
Okay, once again, I think where's the threshold on that? Like, let's say I want to learn more about physics.
Mm-hmm.
Should I deny myself that ability? Like the ability to increase my brain with my physics knowledge?
Well, if you
because
only
I could go do something else?
If you only increase your knowledge of physics to know more about physics, yes. But if you increase your knowledge about physics to share that knowledge with other people, or to gain more insight into the universe so you can more accurately function in it, now you're improving more than just your own brain. You're making your brain more readily equipped to benefit other brains.
And I think those two coils have finally met, and we can go back to the beginning.
Oh my god!
And we can talk about why, because we're right back to the first statement of why, about purpose, about asking yourself the question why you do what you do.
Good Lord!
And then giving yourself an honest moment of self-reflection.
I'm exhausted. I feel like I just ran 3 marathons. Good Lord. We did it. We did it, team. We did it. Holy shit. And with a 1 minute to spare and starting 10 minutes late. Go team.
Okay.
I feel like I should hug you at this point, but you're so far away. You're digital hug. Great. I feel better. Thanks.
We did it.
Oh man. Hitchhiker's Eye of the Galaxy, when the guy's juicing his own brain with oranges. I feel like that right now.
Yes.
I feel like
Good.
You just juiced my brain with a whole bag of
I
oranges.
had that book like right next to me somewhere because I was reading excerpts from.
You were wearing the shirt not too long ago.
I wear the shirt. The shirt is a mainstay. It's like one of the 8 shirts in the rotation, the constant rotation. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay.
We good, or do you want to keep going? Is there anything left?
I'm a talker. I think we
just summarized the entire human experience in under 2 hours. Like, mission accomplished, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching Season 2, Episode 6 of Losing Our Marbles, a Talk for Two Baxcast. Thank you for being here. Again.
My pleasure.
This is why we brought him back. Phenomenal.
As always, it's good.
Do you have anything you'd like to promote?
Today, after in 1 hour, we have a Pro Marbles League exhibition match.
Nice.
We're going to be, you can win some cash. Okay, top 3 marbles at the end of 2 16-race Grand Prix are going to get some cash. Just like that.
Are you
one
doing
day,
another
one thing. It's going to be fun. And then tonight, Crazy Cat Kara has a birthday, and she is in isolation, quarantined. We're going to throw her a birthday party tonight.
Nice.
So we're going to play some games and stuff tonight. That's all I would like.
Happy birthday. Do you have another one? Another Pro Marbles League at the end of the month?
I will.
Exhibition match?
Yes.
Okay. Because by the time this video is
more
up,
importantly, though,
it may be too late. But
the Pro Marbles League tournament kit.
Oh.
Official Pro Marbles League tournament kit, November 3rd. That is a Tuesday.
Oh.
Be there. It's more important.
Good. Well,
do we do Q&A? How does that work?
We're gonna continue with some Q&A after the show. Oh, you have to be here live to catch that. This is the end of the YouTube portion of the stream. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next time.